Hello everyone. This topic, which is topic number 1 in our Unit D book, it's about the weather. We all know that to describe the weather, we can look at the sky in the morning, for example, and see this. We can look at the sky, see the sky, and we can know what's the weather. For example, if it's sunny, we can see the bright sun shining in the sky. If it's cloudy, if it's snowy, rainy, windy, or even stormy when we have thunderstorms. So this is a very simple way to describe weather, but actually to know exactly how is the weather, we need to use some kinds of measurements, or we need to measure how is the weather by using weather tools. And the word measure means that we need to get a number and a specific description about the weather. So you need please to check activity number 1. It's very nice. It's found on your dashboard, and read your Unit D book from page 280 to page 283. Now, talking about weather, first of all, we need to know where does the weather take place. Weather takes place in something called the atmosphere. Atmosphere is a very big and complex thing found around our Earth. And as you can see, it is made up of layers. So here, what is atmosphere? I will explain this question. Over here, we have the Earth. And Earth, above the Earth, we have air surrounding all the Earth, and we all agree on this. But this kind of air is found in different levels. This is another picture showing you that. So an atmosphere is made up of layers of gases, and not only gases but also dust. That's why we see some dust in the sky. This is because it's all about the atmosphere. So atmosphere is a blanket of gases and tiny bits of dust that surround the Earth. I want you please to look at the word blanket. On purpose, I did not mention it, simply because the word blanket means like the blanket that we cover ourselves when we sleep. But I want to relate it to the atmosphere. For example, the bed that we all sleep on, we put the bed sheet, then we put the blanket. Sometimes, if we recall, we can put 2 blankets. So we're putting covering around the bed. Same over here. The Earth is having coverings, but these coverings, that they are not made up of fabric that we all know. They are made up of gases and tiny bits of dust. Now, where does weather take place? We said that the weather is very important in our life, and it takes place in the atmosphere. But actually, it takes place in the closest layer. If we look over here, this is the Earth, and we can see the clouds. So whenever we have a cloud, this means that the weather is taking place there. So weather takes place in the closest layer of the atmosphere. In the second layer, the third layer, the fourth layer, there will be no weather over there. Only the weather takes place in the closest one to the Earth. What is air made up of? So talking about air, we all know that we breathe air. And specifically, we breathe a gas in air found in called oxygen. So the air is made up of many gases, such as the oxygen that we breathe, carbon dioxide that we exhale, and for example, nitrogen. So we need to know that atmosphere is made up of a blanket of gases. We need to know that the weather takes place in the closest layer of the atmosphere, and we need to know that air is made up of many gases, and they are all mixed together. Now, when we say weather, the first thing comes to our mind is rain. We say that it's rainy today, it's cloudy, it might rain. But rain is not the only thing that comes from clouds. Clouds, they can give us many kinds of precipitation. So precipitation means any form of water that falls from the clouds. For example, let me explain the words. We have here rain, we have hail, and we have sleet. You know these from grade 2, and I will remind you of them. Rain, we are all familiar of rain. So let's look at the picture over here. This is the rain This is another picture, this is another picture. So rain, I will directly match it because we are all familiar with it. Now there's something called hail. Hail, they are big balls of snow that fall when there is thunderstorm. So see, and they are very big, as you can see in this picture, so I will match it. So look how big these balls of ice. And by the way, they can break the glasses of the cars, they can break anything found on the floor because they are very heavy. Now sleet is this picture because we are left with this one. But let me explain it more. You all know from grade 2 and we explain it in grade 3 and we are reviewing it right now. Sleet, it is a combination or it's a mixture of ice and rain at the same time. For example, when it starts to rain, this rain will start to freeze before it reaches the ground. So that's why we call it sleet. It is frozen rain. We say that it's frozen rain. Now all of these three kinds, they are, as I said, that they are kinds of precipitation, or it's the water that falls back to earth from the cloud. But there is something missing because we said the three and we all know that they are four. So what's the fourth kind of precipitation that is not mentioned here? I will repeat them. They are rain, hail and sleet. It is the snow. So snow, we all love snow. It's the white fluffy thing that covers most of the place during winter season. Now, let's fill in the blanks with the words from the box. I will read the words in the box. Air pressure, precipitation, temperature and wind. Air pressure. We all know that the word pressure means pressing. So remember the atmosphere, it's made up of blanket of gases. They are layers of gases. These layers, they press on earth. And this pressure, we call it air pressure, simply because the air has weight and it is pressing on the earth itself. You can press on your table, on the wall, when you force and you start to push the thing in front of you. So also the air is pushing the earth. We call it the air pressure. Precipitation, we said it that it is the water that falls to the ground from the clouds and from the atmosphere. Temperature, we all know the temperature. It's how hot or cold something is. For example, when you put your hand in fire, for example, and please don't do that, you will feel that it's very hot, it's burning, simply because the temperature is very high. Whereas if you touch the ice cream or any piece of ice, you feel that it's cold simply because it's having low temperature. Wind, we say it's windy. You see that the wind is blowing the trees, blowing the flowers, and it's moving things. So wind is the moving air. You can make wind, you can blow now, and you can see that the air that comes out of your body can move a paper, can move your pencil, so this is moving air. So the first one is how hot or cold something is. Look at this picture, it's having two tools. They are the thermometer, we need to know them. So when it's hot, it's red. When it's cold, it's blue. So this is showing how hot or cold something is. So what do we call this phrase? It is temperature. Now the second one is water that falls back to ground from the atmosphere. So see, this is the rain. Remember, not only rain, we have rain, snow, sleet and hail. So all of these, we call them forms of precipitation. Now the third one is moving air. Look at this moving air. It's moving the branches of the trees and the leaves. They will start to fall down. This is what we call it. You still have two words. You still have air pressure and wind. Of course, it is wind. The last one is saying is the weight of air pressing down on earth. Look at this. This is not earth, of course, and this is not earth, but this picture can show you how you press down something. So what do we call the pressing force by which the air is doing on earth? It is the air pressure. Now, as I said that to know exactly the measurements of things that they are found on while describing the weather, we need to use the tools. Let's see. I will take my pen to solve. To measure the temperature, I use a what? So let's see. When you're feeling that you're so tired and you put your hand on your forehead and you feel that it's extremely hot, you will say, "Oh, I have a fever." But if I ask you how much is your fever, you will tell me, "I don't know." So let's measure it. Let's find the number. So what do you use to find your temperature? Do you use something called anemometer, thermometer, or a ruler? You will not put a ruler on your forehead. That's impossible. And there's this anemometer. This tool, as you can see, it's showing 4 cups, and maybe they can be 3 cups, and it turns to see how fast the wind is. So if the wind is moving, so it's blowing in a fast way, it will start to spin in a very fast way. When the wind is so light, it will move slowly. So does this help you to know the temperature of something? No, it doesn't. What about the thermometer? Yes, it does. So I will circle it. So to know the temperature, we need to use the thermometer. To measure the direction of wind, I use a. So to know the direction of wind, for example, you studied in social studies that we have 4 directions: north, south, east, and west. And you can tell me how's the direction of the wind today? I'll tell you right, left, up, down. No, we need to use the 4 directions that we are all familiar with: north, east, west, and south. So let's see. Do I use something called weather vane? As you can see, it's having an arrow to show a direction and the 4 directions. And do we use the sun to know how is the wind? Or we use something called the rain gauge. The rain gauge, as you can see, it's like a cup, and it's having numbers, and as you can see here, the rain, it will fall into the cup, and we can get how much did it rain. So to know the direction of wind, do I use a rain gauge, the sun, or the weather vane? Look, the pictures can help you a lot. Of course, it's the weather vane, simply because we have the arrow and we have the 4 directions. To measure the amount of precipitation, I use a what? So let's see. So precipitation is all of the water that falls from the cloud back to the earth. So what do we need to know how much did it rain in this specific area? Do we need an anemometer that it turns around to see the wind speed or how fast the wind is? Or do we use the weather vane that we saw it in the previous slide that shows the direction of wind? Or do we use the rain gauge that it's like a cup by which the water will be, or the rain will be collected inside? So the amount of precipitation, like the rain, snow, sleet, and hail, they need to go inside this cup, which we call it the rain gauge, and I will have a number over here and I will get the exact measurement. Now to measure the air pressure or the weight of air pressing on earth, what do I use? Do I use a thermometer, a barometer, or a clock? Let's see. Thermometer, we all agreed that it's not thermometer, simply because it measures the temperature or how hot or cold something is. Of course, it's not the clock. The clock shows us the time. It's something called the barometer. As you can see over here, we have big numbers, and we all need to know that when the air pressure is so high, it will give me a very big number. Now, how does it work exactly? In the next grades, you will know. So it is the barometer. Thank you so much. Stay safe and remember to read your book to know exactly the main ideas.